All right, Colorado families, this week on Community Chat, Hagen Nares PLC Truck Wreck and Brain Injury Attorneys is interviewing Danisha, owner of Altitude Acupuncture in North Commerce City. Danisha has quite the reputation statewide for her expertise in advancements in using acupuncture to help families battling infertility. We are here to learn more about her journey starting Altitude Acupuncture, what the experience being at Altitude Acupuncture is like, and how she's helping families battling infertility. Welcome, Danisha. How are you
I
doing?
am doing well. How are you?
Great. Well, I'm so excited to talk to you today. And I would love to just start and talk about your journey in opening Altitude Acupuncture in North Commerce City. You're well known for having a great business and establishment. And there's a lot of other people in Colorado that are traveling to you because of this infertility. So, what was the journey in starting Altitude?
So that journey is kind of long. So I guess in a nutshell, you can read more about it like in my on my website and all of that. But in a nutshell, I was pre-med for anesthesiology over on the Western Slope in Grand Junction. And I started out of nowhere experiencing some ailments that Western medicine couldn't figure out. So I guess with that journey, my ailments were all around sinuses, constant congestion, constant runny nose. My ear, nose, and throat physician was like, okay, we're going to put you on prednisone. Prednisone worked, but the second I stopped taking it, the symptoms returned within a matter of 2 to 3 days. So their next option was surgery. If I had surgery, it would resolve the problem. It wouldn't come back. Well, in December of 2010, again, while I was going through pre-med for anesthesiology, I was to a point where I had no other option. I chose to go undergo sinus surgery to remove nasal polyps, which were the cause or the structural defect, and was really good for about 8 months. And they returned about like 3, 4 times worse than what they were before. So, ear, nose, and throat physician again said, like, our answer is to take a daily dose of prednisone basically for the rest of my life and to have sinus surgery once a year. And I just knew that's not quality of life. I don't want to go undergo that option and all of that. So I basically just said, no, I'm good. I don't want to do that. I'll figure out a different thing or I'll live with it for the rest of my life and literally invest in Kleenex stock because it was my life
Yeah.
at that time. So my background a little bit with my family is I come from a Western medicine family. I have family that are Western physicians. One is a world-renowned OBGYN who is my grandfather, now retired. And so it I was just going to deal with it. And then I have on my other side of the family, I have an aunt who is alternative everything. And for years, I mean, from 2008 on, she was telling me, like, just go see my acupuncturist. Just go, like, do it. And I literally told her I'm not going to go see a witch doctor. It's just not happening. So I believe it was like 2012. I'm still miserable. I was going through final exams in college, and I I was just in not the best state of mind because I didn't feel well. I was under a lot of stress because of school and I was in it. And she pulled up in my driveway and she said, I'm either going to put you in the car or you can get in, but one way or another, you're going to see my acupuncturist. I made an appointment for you, so let's go. So reluctantly, I got into her car and kind of my journey was after that, I saw this acupuncturist 3 times. And on the third visit, I called my husband and I said, I'm going to go to school for Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And so we need to sell our house. We need to move over to the Eastern Slope, so Denver, and I'm going to do this. And that's kind of, I think, within a matter of 4 months, we were living over here. I got accepted into the grad program for traditional Chinese medicine. And that's kind of where it started. And it's been life changing ever since. So I think more on a personal note of I had this reluctancy of no, alternative medicine doesn't work. And I think it was because my mindset growing up is you're sick, you go to the doctor. It was never a prevention thing where you maintain and you utilize your body because you only have one of them. And that's the only chance you're going to ever have to keep things at bay. So I guess taking that into an even smaller nutshell is from 2009 to my surgery in December of 2010. I had 15 sinus infections. So I was constantly on prednisone and antibiotics, and I was destroying my body from the inside out from just those medications. Since seeing that acupuncturist in Grand Junction that my aunt forced me to see, I have not had a sinus infection since 2012. So pretty life-changing, even though I still deal with sinus polyps and I have to manage that. The fact that I don't have to take any medication for that is just is like, okay, why would I go to the extreme of putting people under for surgery that may or may not help a situation? And I just had this realization of like, no, I want to help people on the prevention side of things before it has to go to the extreme.
And I think a lot of people can identify that, if you just said, Caitlin, I have horrible sinuses, it just seems maybe whatever to me, but I think a lot of listeners will understand that some things that we're experiencing can really affect our entire lives. And for you, it was the sinus issues, and it really affected everything from waking up to going to sleep, sometimes not even being able to sleep, having that impact. And I know my clients that suffer from catastrophic injuries experience that all the time. It's hard for them to articulate how everything is impacting your life. And you did something about it. You decided, I am going to take the effort to change my life, to make things preventative rather than just treating kind of the symptoms. Let me get to the root cause of this. And also, you kind of changed your life otherwise, deciding you were going to do a 180 from Western medicine to focusing specifically on Chinese medicine. But that's where I want to talk about your business specifically, because you kind of tie the two. You tie Western medicine and Chinese medicine together. You have this really great concept. I think you stand out among acupuncturists. So tell us what Altitude Acupuncture is like. What is it like to be a customer there? What is the experience that we have?
Yeah. Well, thank you. So I am not against Western medicine. There is definitely a time and a place, and I say in a very jokingly manner to my patients of like, hey, an emergency happened. Don't be calling me, like call 911. Definitely go that route. So we merged together Altitude Acupuncture with Western medicine and Eastern medicine to bring a whole team behind the patient, because one thing that works for somebody that has the same ailments as you is not going to be the same for another person that has the same exact ailments. Like, things are just different. The way that our DNA is structured and the way that everything internally just connects is so different from person to person. And so rather than telling somebody like, hey, you need to get off this medication, it's not good for you, it's not safe for you, it's going to essentially reprogram your DNA to act completely different than you were before. That, like, we don't do that at Altitude. We come together as like, okay, we meet the person where they want to be. So you're coming in with X, Y, and Z going on. You're taking X, Y, and Z medication. And maybe the person is like, I really don't want to be on these medications anymore because the side effects or whatever it is to them just doesn't feel right or natural for them. Okay, so we're going to come in and we're going to sit down, we're going to talk with them, we're going to identify like who else is in their healthcare team, and who's prescribing what, and are they aware that you don't want to be taking this medication as well? How can we work together in a very safe manner to ultimately get the patient where they want to be? And again, that's going to be so different from person to person to person. So if we're talking about arthritic pain, for example, somebody's on gabapentin to help manage that pain. They don't want to be on that medication. They want to find an alternative route to do so. We are going to do everything in our power with their entire medical team to figure that out. And then you have somebody on the other side where gabapentin isn't giving me any side effects. I feel really comfortable being on that medication, but I'm still having issues with inflammation, or when the weather changes of feeling X, Y, and Z, then we're going to meet them at that point of just enhancing what they're already on the path to do.
And I think that's great that you're working with other physicians. So for our clients, again, we handle catastrophic cases. They have a team of medical physicians, and I think it's fantastic that we are trying to get them also to see acupuncturists, because someone like you will work with them, with the orthopedist, with the physical therapist, with all of that, understanding what they're going through and how you can make things better. So I think that's fantastic. I could attest that people seem to have a great experience at your facility. It's a loving and caring environment that you truly want to help. And that goes into kind of your next thing that you're becoming well known for, this expertise in helping families that are battling infertility. As we know that this is a big epidemic, you could talk about maybe what are the causes that we're seeing more and more people, our ages having infertility. But they're looking for an avenue rather than very expensive treatment. The cost is astounding. And there's maybe some other ways that you can assist, again, with providers. So talk to us about how you came to focus on infertility and how you've been having such great success with that.
Yeah. So the infertility kind of just fell onto my lap, literally. Like, okay, I went into Chinese medicine for sinus allergy type related things, obviously because of my own struggles with that. And while that is a really strong passion of mine, is figuring out and identifying allergens and whatnot, and that goes so far beyond just seasonal allergies, environmental allergies, or food sensitivities. The fertility part actually came to me. So my very first patient outside of grad school, so we not only studied, but we also did oh man, I'm drawing a blank on the word, but we had a clinic within our school to where we were supervised while we were treating, and learning the ropes and all of that. Was this lady came into me with menopause issues, and she was forced into menopause. So and by being forced into something, that's like going through the extremes of having a hysterectomy, or maybe having breast cancer where it's the BRCA gene and it's just safer to remove all female organs, because that type of breast cancer can come back with a vengeance if you don't take all steps to that. So I really dove in with this particular patient of like, okay, you were forced into this. You're way too young to be going through menopause. But again, you really had no option at that point. So what can I do to relieve? And not only with that, Western medicine was working against her, talking specifically about pharmaceuticals, because she was allergic to all of the hormone replacement therapy. So here she is. She had an organ removed through a full hysterectomy. She was put on hormone replacement therapies to help with that transition. Her body had an allergic reaction to it. And so what now? Like, okay, so I'm just supposed to suffer with these symptoms. I'm not supposed to. She just was not herself at all. So that was my first experience, like true hands-on, just me as a practitioner experience in women's health. And then it just evolved from there. So we went from working with menopausal women to hormone imbalances to even more specifically of like, hey, I'm seeing an IVF specialist and they have your name and number. And they gave it to me because they said that acupuncture can help through this process. So I guess to narrow that down is you have some families who are trying to conceive naturally. You have others who are trying to do IUI transfers, which is you're given a medication at a certain time in your menstrual cycle. And then at a particular time after that, they literally implant the components for baby making into the woman's body. Or you have the more extreme of we've been trying for years, it hasn't been helping, we're doing IVF transfers. So that can look like in some cases where eggs and semen are coming together outside of the body. They are actually starting that formulation outside of the body. And then at particular times, they're put back into or implanted into the women in hopes that it can fully evolve into a fetus and baby and help grow that family. So this spring season has been absolutely insane for Altitude Acupuncture with families who are trying to either have their first child or to add another child to their family. And it's just, there's so many components to it. So this is a good example of Western medicine coming together with Eastern medicine. Is you have IVF specialists or even IUI, OBGYNs who are working with women to get them to that point. And they are actually making the recommendation and referring their patients out to Eastern medicine because acupuncture has been proven to help with invigorating blood flow, getting blood flow to go to certain areas in the body by supporting the components of the kidney energy or the kidney blood flow from a Chinese medicine standpoint. We look at kidney, we look at liver, how is digestion going through the spleen and the stomach. And we look at it from a completely different standpoint. So I guess the simplest way for me to say this in layman terms would be every uterus is different. So that can mean like, is there a liver component that is contributing blockages to the system of not allowing blood flow to the uterus to hold on to pregnancy, or to even start that process? Is there kidney deficiency, which is kind of the essence of our being? I mean, we're formed in our mother's bellies, and kidneys are the first organs to come to life, and that gives us essence of life. Or is there dampness in the body? Is the uterus too cold? Is it too heavy? Is there too much heat going through that area? It sounds hocus pocus, but there's so many different factors that play in, and it's not just, okay, you're going through IVF, you're going through IUI, I'm going to do the same treatment on each person going through this process, because their body patterns, looking at it from a holistic perspective, could be completely different.
And I think that's great that you tailor the treatments to the individual person. And so if I was a client and I was to come into you, kind of what is that initial consultation to figure out kind of what are the struggles that me or maybe my partner have been dealing with?
Yeah.
How do you kind of decide what is a unique treatment for me?
Most definitely. Well, you said, I'm going to touch base on one important thing that you said. So you said myself and my partner and struggles that we may be dealing with. And I want to reiterate, I guess, to anybody who's listening to this, that women, it's not all on you. Your significant other or your partner in this case can very well be a contributing factor. So being seen from both sides of supporting both of the people that are trying to make conception happen is very important. And I think that can alleviate some of that stress from women as well. So coming into answering your question, coming into Altitude, we always start with a consultation. We don't do these one-offs where it's like, okay, I saw one acupuncturist, but they're too far away. Like, we already did the consultation, so I just want to get treated by you. Because every Chinese medicine practitioner is going to approach the process in completely different ways. There's just so many ways that you can treat one person. So we always start with a consultation. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know how your body is functioning on a daily basis. I want to know where you're at and what your end goals are and how you would like me to help you. And then I think a bigger part is because acupuncture and Chinese medicine, or even just alternative medicine alone, is a lot of people still are skeptical of it, of, hey, I'm being told to come here. I don't think this is going to work, but I'm going to give it a shot because you're my last hope. So it's really time. It's a safe space for you to bring questions, concerns, any emotions to the table that we can address before even putting needles in the body to start the process. So again, it's always consultation first. We want to talk through specific areas with you. After that, we always allow time in after the consultation to start the first treatment. So patients or new patients that are coming in, they have the option, if they're ready to get started on that same day, like, okay, let's get you on the table. Like, let's start this process. And then a treatment plan is formed. How many times do I need to see you a week? For how many weeks, or to kind of give kind of an idea based off of that. And we just kind of start the process there. We have other patients who are like, thank you for the consultation. I want to think about it. Let me see what I can do. But more likely than not, they end up calling us back to get that first treatment in, and we start the treatment plan from there.
Well, I think that's great. And I think a lot of people that haven't done acupuncture may not really understand what it is. They may think it's very invasive, or they just don't understand. So I think that you having like a calming approach to it. And if I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go, or if I need to think about it. But I think that's great to ease people into it. And as I hear, once people do it, they do it all the time. And it's a truly great experience. I know for one, my mom has been doing it for decades and has loved it and had great results. And so, you know, our firm, Ave and Nares, truck wreck and brain injury lawyers, we are in the community and we're dedicated to interviewing these local professionals that are really making not only our clients, but other community members' lives better. And so we really appreciate you being a member of the community that's really standing out for doing expertise in acupuncture. If people want to get a hold of you, and I truly hope they do because you're doing great things, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so we are in 2023, so we do all forms. So you can call into the office, so you can send us a text message or an email, and either myself, Natalie, who is our office administrator, or Elena will be in touch. We typically have a really quick response to answering questions, getting people scheduled, and all of that. So I would say for the most immediate response, text is always easiest because you could call in, and we're in with patients. Natalie, office administrator, is working with another client in the front office or whatever it may be. But even sending in a text message of, hey, want to chat, want to get scheduled, or having any particular questions, text is always easiest. And I feel that just kind of for the world in general right now is like, hey, let me know when you're available. So that is the easiest. All of that information is on our website. As far as phone number, you can send an email right from the website to us. and you automatically get an auto response to any form of communication, letting you know, like, we will be in touch. We answer our phones, we call people back, we are responding at all times. So the website for that information is the www.altitudeacu.com or altitudeacu.com.
Awesome. And we'll put more of your information in the show notes, but if you are listening to this and you want to go ahead and text for availability, what is that number that we can go ahead and text you?
Yeah, it is 720-980-0073.
Excellent. Well, we really appreciate you, Danisha. Thank you so much for all the work that you're doing in our community to making us healthier and safer. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys as well. Thank you.
Thank you.